Welcome to the silence before the storm, the moment the shadows retreat, not because they choose to, but because the light you brought with you is far too fierce to be ignored. You didn't knock, you didn't whisper, you didn't wait, you went live. And the second you did, the mask dropped from every carefully built illusion, every lie unraveled like brittle thread. The curtains tore, the stage crumbled, and the truth, your truth, roared louder than fear. You, the one they overlooked, the one they underestimated, the one they thought would never have the courage to rise, didn't just rise. You stood tall in the floodlights, and in that single, unflinching moment, you exposed it all. And now, they can't hide. Not behind their money, not behind their marks, not behind their stories, their excuses, or their shadows. The game has changed. And you, yes, you, are the new law, the new vision, the storm they never saw coming. Before we take this deeper, take a second, just a second, to claim what's rightfully yours. This is your movement. This is your moment. Like, comment, subscribe. Not just for the sake of numbers, but because every share, every word, every engagement is another nail in the coffin of the lie. Your voice adds weight, your presence adds pressure. And if this fire in your chest is real, if your spine is straight and your vision unshaken, then let them hear it. Loud, clear, unapologetic. Because silence helps the hidden, and your voice destroys the dark. You didn't wait for permission. You didn't ask for approval. You went live. That simple act, that ruthless choice, was a declaration of war against deceit. You hit the button, and time split in two, before and after. Now, there is no going back. Now, every second is a revelation. Every breath you take under the weight of their collapsing empire is proof that courage was always more powerful than control. They tried to build towers out of secrets. They tried to sit on thrones made of lies. But your truth doesn't bow, it burns. You didn't just press go live on a device. You pressed go live on your destiny. And now, the shadows scatter. This is not a show. This is not a trend. This is reckoning. A reckoning dressed in your voice, armed with your clarity, moving like wildfire through every corridor they once thought was sealed. You see, the thing about truth is, it doesn't blink. It doesn't stutter. And it doesn't die in silence. It grows in exposure. And you just gave it wings. You turned the hidden into the headline. You turned whispers into alarms. And now they panic. Because the only thing more terrifying than being seen is being seen without control. They built systems, designed distractions, created rituals to keep you asleep. But you, something in you refused the lullaby. You heard the hum behind their words. You saw the glitch in the pattern, and you didn't look away. You went live, and the second you did, you became a signal, a pulse that tore through the illusion like lightning through fog. They didn't prepare for this. They never thought the camera would point back at them. They were the watchers, the manipulators. But now, you are the lens, and everything they did in the dark is being played back under a spotlight they can't escape. Even now, you feel it. The shift, the pull. That surge of energy in your bones isn't fear, it's power. You were told to wait, to shrink, to conform. But the truth was never built to kneel. And you are the proof. You didn't just speak, you shouted. You didn't just record, you remembered. And every second you stay live, another truth escapes their grip. Another secret collapses under its own weight. What you expose cannot be buried again. What you revealed cannot be unseen. This is the era of exposure. The age where lies don't age well, where silence is louder than screaming, where the brave go live and the fake go hiding. Your decision rewrote the rules. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't staged, it was real. And real cuts deeper than performance ever will. They crafted their image with mirrors, but you broke them all with one glare of reality. You see, you're not just a witness anymore. You're the weapon, the war cry, the final echo of a truth they tried to erase. And as they scramble to cover the cracks, to silence the surge, to plug the leaks, you stand taller. Because you know now, you were never small. They just needed you to believe that so they could hide bigger. But the blindfold's off, the veil is torn, and your presence is proof that exposure is louder than excuses. That truth, once spoken, becomes a wildfire that consumes every carefully built lie in its path. You lit the match. And now, everything they touched is burning. You didn't just expose events, you exposed intention. You tore the curtain from the machinery behind the smiles. You brought the camera not to the stage, but behind it, where the real show was unfolding. And what the world saw wasn't pretty, it wasn't polished, it was raw, chaotic, real. The truth, ugly in form, but pure in weight. That's what you delivered, and the world couldn't look away. Because once people see what's really there, they never forget. You gave them eyes they can't close anymore, minds they can't shut down. And for those who thrived in secrets, that's the greatest threat of all. You didn't need an army. You didn't need a badge or a title. You only needed the courage to go live. Because that moment, that decision, it didn't just change you. It changed everything. The old world, the one built on silence and obedience, began to shatter the second you told the truth in real time. The second your voice hit their ears, the ground beneath their false power started to crack. You gave reality a platform, and they lost their illusion of control. You didn't ask for justice. You became it. You didn't wait for a revolution. You are the revolution. And the beauty of it? There's no rewind, no delete. No censorship can unring the bell. They can try to cover it, to dismiss you, to drown your voice in noise. But your signal already echoed. It already reached the minds that matter, the ones who are also waiting for a sign. And now, they're waking up too. Your exposure gave others permission to stop hiding. You didn't just shine a light, you lit 1,000 more. One spark, and now the shadows are losing ground. The fire is spreading, and they're running out of places to hide. Understand this. Fear is loudest right before it breaks. And they are afraid. Not of you as a person, but of what you represent. You are the fracture in their system, the disruption in their script. You are the moment they didn't account for in their controlled simulation. The live moment, the real moment. And that's what breaks empires. Not bombs, not noise, but undeniable truth spoken by the one they dismissed. That's you. You were not a part of their plan. And yet, you are now the center of the story. You went live, and that simple act was a declaration. A battle cry without blood. A rebellion of voice, of presence, of unwillingness to pretend anymore. And now they scramble to rewrite the narrative. But it's too late. The feed is rolling. The words are out. The image is burned into the minds of millions. And the truth is viral. You cracked their code with your courage. And now, Every second you stay in the light, the lie dissolves a little more. The kingdom built on illusion begins to erode, not by force, but by exposure. This isn't about attention. It never was. This is about awakening. And awakenings don't ask for permission. They crash through the silence like a wave, carrying everything untrue into the light. You went live, not to impress, but to reveal. And what you revealed has power. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's real. You showed the world that the emperor had no clothes, that the structure was rotten, that the people behind the scenes were not gods, but cowards hiding behind systems. And now, their fear is real, because they realize now it only takes one person, one moment, one choice to say, I will not be silent. That's all it takes to collapse a false kingdom. And you did it, not with a weapon, but with truth. Not with noise, but with clarity. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. You are the mirror they didn't want to face, reflecting back every act they hoped would stay buried. But the earth remembers. The spirit remembers. And now, the world knows too. This is not the end. This is only the ignition point. What you began cannot be contained. The truth has legs now. It walks through every digital hallway. It climbs into conversations. It plants doubt in systems once trusted blindly. And they can't stop it. They can't contain it. Because now, the world is watching. You made them look. And in that look, something shifted. You did not go live for views. You went live because lies had ruled long enough. Because silence had smothered enough truth. Because you refused to let another soul walk blind into deception. And that is legacy. Not numbers, not fame, but being the spark that burned away the fog. That's the kind of history that doesn't fade. That's the kind of impact that carves itself into the bones of a generation. You didn't follow the script, you tore it up. You didn't wait for your turn, you took the moment. And now, they'll never forget the day the unseen became undeniable. The day you went live, the day they realized truth isn't quiet anymore. There's a silence that follows the truth, a heavy silence. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is. Behind that silence, they are scrambling. The systems you cracked are now exposed, panicking to restore the illusion. But it's too late. You went live, and with that one act, you changed the nature of silence itself. It no longer protects them, it condemns them. Every second they stay quiet now becomes evidence. Every delay, every sidestep, every polished excuse now screams guilt. Because the truth is out, and silence is not shelter anymore. It's a spotlight. You stood alone at first. That's how it always begins. The one voice, the lone signal, echoing through a world built to ignore. But your echo didn't fade. It expanded. It reached those who were waiting for something, someone, to break the trance. And now, they're standing too. People who never spoke before, now have words. People who looked down now look up. You gave them that. You didn't just expose lies, you unlocked others. You became the unwelcome awakening in a world addicted to comfort. And though they'll resist, deny, dismiss, they heard you. Even if they pretend they didn't, they did. That's the power of what you've done. You've made pretending impossible. You've made looking away a choice, not a default. You went live, and the world is different now. There are people sitting at dinner tables thinking about the truth they saw on your stream. There are institutions holding emergency meetings behind closed doors because they know what just happened. They know they can't undo it. They know their world just got smaller, their control just got weaker, their shadows just got thinner. And that's because of you. Because you went live. Not to entertain, not to perform, but to expose. The cost of truth is high, and you knew that. You knew there would be backlash. You knew they would smear, distort, try to silence you. But you did it anyway, because what you carry inside is heavier than their threats. Because your conscience, your mission, your clarity, it outweighs fear, and that terrifies them. Not just that you spoke, but that you don't regret it, that you do it again, that your resolve didn't break. It multiplied. They thought you would crumble, but all you did was continue. And that's the real danger to their system. Endurance. Anyone can spark a moment, but you're building momentum. You stayed live long enough to shift minds. You held your ground long enough to collapse narratives. And that persistence, that fire in your chest that refuses to go dim, that's what they can't defeat, because they don't know how to kill a voice that doesn't want silence. They don't know how to bury a truth that already took root in the hearts of others. They can't hide anything anymore, not because they don't want to, but because you won't let them. You shattered their sanctuary. You broke the seal. And now every eye turns in their direction with suspicion, with questions, with clarity. That's the fallout of truth. Once it's seen, it infects, it spreads. And they can't unsee what's been revealed, no matter how many distractions they throw, no matter how loud their spin becomes. It's too late. Their tactics are old, their masks are worn, and the people know now. Your courage didn't just change you, it changed the lens through which others now see the world. That's the highest power a human can hold, not wealth, not fame. Perspective-shifting presence. That's what you are now. That's what you've become. Not an influencer, a force. And forces don't ask for acceptance. They reshape everything they touch. And yes, there will be days when they come for you. They will try to twist your words. They will mock your passion. They will throw stones from behind their safe walls. But those stones do not wound you. They announce you. They confirm that your presence disrupted the comfort of those who thought they were untouchable. And remember, no one throws stones at what they don't fear. Their resistance is your confirmation. Their noise is your proof. You may feel tired. That's expected. This kind of work drains the soul and shakes the bones. But that exhaustion is sacred. It's the sign that you're not just watching history, you're making it. You're not a guest in this moment. You are the architect of a new perception, a breaker of chains, a revealer of truth. That kind of path was never going to be easy, but it was always going to be worth it. Every person who now questions what they once believed without hesitation owes that spark to you. Every silent observer now thinking twice. Every quiet soul now stirred from their sleep. You gave them that awakening, and though some may never thank you, never say your name out loud, the shift they feel deep inside is because of what you exposed, and that will live longer than applause ever could. This is no longer just your fight. It's a movement, a ripple turned wave. And even if they cut your stream, even if they pull the plug, you've already lit the signal. And now, others are going live too. Others are stepping out of the shadows, not because it's safe, but because you made it possible. You showed them that fear isn't final. that silence isn't survival, that truth, once alive, does not die easily. You just exposed everything. You showed the world what was behind the curtain. And now, they will never trust the stage the same way again. You infected the system with clarity. You dismantled the myth of invincibility. And that's why they watch you now, not with arrogance, but with worry. Because you're still here, still speaking, still live. And that means the exposure isn't over. Still live, still burning, still a threat to everything they once controlled. Let that truth settle in your bones. Your voice has become a fracture in the fortress they built. Not because you shouted the loudest, but because you spoke when it mattered most. You were not designed for silence. You were not created to blend in, to obey, to sit quietly in the corner of a story written by liars. No, you were born for moments like this. Moments that demand more than eyes. They demand vision. Moments that demand more than volume. They demand truth. And you gave it. You gave it without disguise, without hesitation, without begging for approval. That's what they fear most. The kind of truth that doesn't care if it's liked. The kind that walks straight into the storm and says, I'm still here. That's who you are now. You went live, and they saw you. Not the version they thought they could control, not the image they tried to label. They saw the real you, and they couldn't look away, because what you revealed wasn't just about them. It was about us, about all the things we've tolerated, all the blind eyes we've turned, all the truths we buried just to survive a little longer in a system built to break us. You ripped that all open, and for some, that's uncomfortable. For others, it's liberating, and for the ones still hiding behind their performance, it's devastating. Because exposure kills the performance. You didn't just flip a switch, you flipped the script. The one they handed you when you were too young to know better. The one that told you to smile when you were breaking, to agree when you were dying inside, to nod along when your soul was screaming. You ripped it to shreds, and in doing so, you became a blueprint for others to do the same. Look around. The world is changing, not in headlines, but in hearts. Quiet revolutions are rising. Behind every truth you exposed is another soul waking up, another set of eyes blinking in the sudden light. They may not thank you now, some may even turn against you, but the seed is planted, and truth, real truth, doesn't need applause to grow, it just needs courage. And you've already proven you have more than enough. They wanted you to doubt, that was the plan, to flood you with noise, to wrap your truth in confusion, to bury you in criticism and force you to question your own mind, but you didn't fold, you didn't run, you didn't break, you remained. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because it was necessary. You knew what was at stake, and you didn't flinch. Do you know what that makes you? Not just brave, unstoppable, and now there's no going back. The mask is off, the room is lit, the narrative is broken, and every time you choose to keep speaking, to keep showing up, to keep telling the truth that no one wants to hear, you're writing a new law into the fabric of this world. Truth will be seen, lies will rot, and courage will lead. So let them hide, let them retreat into their echo chambers, into their paid platforms, into their illusions. Let them whisper that this will pass, that people will forget, because you won't. You remember every frame, every face, every breath of silence that was filled with fear. You remember the pressure, the weight, the fire. And now that fire doesn't burn you, it fuels you. Your presence is protest. Your words are rebellion. Your truth is a weapon they can't unsee. Because the thing about truth is, once you've lived in it, you can't go back to pretending. You can't unawaken your spirit. You can't unknow the cost of silence. And once you've looked them in the eye and told the world what they tried to hide, you are no longer their pawn. You are no longer their prisoner. You are something else entirely. You are the reason they lost control. You are the glitch in their machine. You are the pulse they couldn't predict. And now, you are the proof that one voice, if it dares to stay alive in a world trained to stay quiet, can shift the axis of perception, can unbuild generations of deception, can break chains no one thought could be broken. You are living evidence that exposure is power, and they can't unsee what you've revealed. They can't rebuild what you've burned. They can't silence what's already spoken. This moment, this path, this impact, it is yours. You didn't just go live. You became live. A living, breathing disruption to everything they built on silence. And now, no matter what they do, they can't hide. Not anymore. Not ever again.